the ratio there, how they ran the ball, how it was a balanced offense, how Doug Martin looked like he was the old Doug Martin, the 30-yard run. But what I take from this game is the very first drive, they came out and they took it to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you. This has got Dirk Cotter's fingerprints all over it. This was what I was expecting to see from him. It's been this the first time, to be honest, in the history of the Buccaneers, we've had a bona fide offensive coordinator in there other than John Gruden. So what we're seeing is the evolution of the Buccaneers, and you're going to see a lot more. What I consider speed in space. That's what we're looking at. Even the offensive line, I compare our offensive line now to the offensive line last year, and you see vast improvements. You see improvements from the rookies. You see contributions from the rookies. And as we mentioned on the last show, that's what we wanted to see because that's very important with the draft is that your draft picks make contributions. I know some of your later round picks, it may take longer, but Quan Alexander, Ali Marpet, Donovan Smith, all making, and Jameis Winston, all making valuable contributions to the Bucs in their win. So it's very exciting to see that. And what you look for in the next game is improvement from this past game. But not to get away from the current subject, what else did you like about the game, or what else did you see that stood out to you?
Vast improvement defensively. It seems like Lovie Smith calling the defensive plays really made a difference. I mean, a pick six, another interception. You had like 3 sacks in this game. There were multiple different looks, a lot of blitzing. So it seemed like Lovie Smith calling this defense. And then on top of that, we asked about where they would play with Henry Melton. Would they play him with McCoy on the inside? Well, not necessarily. They didn't play him on the inside. They actually played him on the outside as a left defensive end. So I thought that was really interesting and really telling, because now if Henry Melton is on the outside along with McCoy on the inside and McDonald and Jacques Smith or George Johnson, who you heard from a lot in this game, then I think things could get real interesting.
Absolutely. I saw a lot of power moves by Melton, and I was very impressed. I as we mentioned before, my questions were on that defensive line getting pressure on the quarterback, because we say it week in and week out. That's what makes the cover 2 work. That Tampa 2 defense work is getting that pressure on the quarterback. It takes a lot of pressure off of your secondary and your linebackers as well. And for me, just to kind of touch on what you were talking about, DJ Swearinger, I was very impressed with him. To be very honest, I'm impressed with the safeties in general. I don't miss Mark Barron. I don't miss, and not to take anything away from these guys, Deshaun Golston and Mark Barron. I don't guys that are made for this system that are playing and they're flourishing in this system. Now, I know this is preseason and the offensive coordinators are drawing up vanilla plays, but at the same time, these guys are making plays as they should. So that to me is very encouraging, and you just hope to see market improvement going into the next game against the Cleveland Browns.
I think another positive thing going back to Jameis Winston is him changing his own plays, knowing the protections, going down the field. You can clearly see that Mr. Winston is very aggressive in his approach on the game. He wants to go down the field to Mike Evans, which, by the way, Mike Evans gets hurt with a hamstring injury, which is not good, but at least he'll hopefully be ready for the season. Hopefully it's not lingering. But overall, getting your first win at home and this team going winless last year, even though it's a preseason game, it's huge.
Right. Yeah, it definitely carries momentum going into this game against Cleveland. And once again, I want to say that the front office, they're doing an excellent job with the picks that they've made. Low risk, high reward, as I've mentioned before. You see these players like Melton making a contribution, DJ Swearinger making a contribution. And, they're really looking good. Quan Alexander really looked good. And that was somebody I really wasn't expecting to make the impact that he did. But he's really looking good, going into the next game of the preseason.
Yeah, definitely. He's done on every tackle. It seems like he's all over the field, and you combine him with Levante David, you have to be pretty excited about the way this linebacking core is going to be. Danny Lansana last year making some big plays. So overall, I think the Buccaneers defense and their offense was definitely sound on Monday night. The bad things that I saw were penalty situations, too many penalties, too many stupid penalties, procedural calls on the offensive line. In saying that, to be fair, a lot of these offensive linemen that were on the line the other night are not going to be on this team. They're going to be second or third stringers. They weren't starters, especially, the center. I seen 73, Edwards, who they drafted last year, I believe in the fifth or sixth round, Kadeem Edwards. He had a couple penalties. So, but they got to get this stuff worked out because this definitely hindered this team last year.
Right. Yeah, and you know that they're capable of doing it because you go back to the Minnesota game, 4 penalties. That's it. And so basically that this team is capable of doing a lot better than what they have. They kind of I'm sure they could have put up easily 30 points, 40 points. But because of the penalties and self-inflicted, they really kind of held themselves back a little bit. So hopefully, Lovie Smith is addressing that. All I can do is be a fan and root for the team. You let the coach do the coaching and the general manager take care of the personnel. So as a fan, I hope that they can address that and clean it up a little bit. But I do believe that they will. I really do.
I definitely believe they will, and it's going to be a nice challenge this Saturday against the Cleveland Browns. You're going to see what this team progressively does again, how much Jameis Winston's development works on Saturday night against this Cleveland Browns team, which by all counts has a pretty good defense. I mean, you have Paul Kruger on here. You have some pretty good players on this defense, so it's going to be a challenge. And then you look at the secondary, you're not going to have Mike Evans, so it's going to be a challenge for him. And he's going to either have to overcome it or he's going to struggle. And I think he's going to be fine. And I like what you said before about Dirk Cutter. It seems like this is a legitimate offensive coordinator that the Buccaneers haven't had in so long.
Oh, absolutely. And, with that being said, I know that so far McCown, who was a former Buccaneers quarterback, is looking at being the first-string quarterback going into the season. With the elbow injury to Johnny Manziel, I think we'll be seeing McCown and whoever the third-string quarterback is. I'd have to research that to see who that is. But that's who we're going to be looking at with the Cleveland offense. They have Dwayne Bowe and Miles Austin had a pretty good game last week. So you just never know. Once again, it's a good time for the Buccaneers to gel and get used to each other, get used to the play calling. And playing at home, they have something at stake, wanting to definitely win at home. Having another win will really put us into a good rhythm come the first game of the season against the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, and I think that's what everybody's focused on right now. Mike Evans' injury was disappointing to see that, but he'll be ready for the first game. Does he really need to play these next two preseason games to see what you have in him? I don't think so. Jameis Winston took a big shot. You were kind of concerned because it looked like he rolled his ankle. So you got to watch that. But I expect these players to be ready for this third preseason game. Hopefully this is the best preseason game out of them because usually the third preseason game is a really good
indicator
of what this team is going to be. Because I don't expect any of these starters to play in the fourth preseason game at all.
Right. And with Mike Evans being out, I really would like to see a lot more of some of these other receivers. For instance, Kenny Bell. Unfortunately, Kenny Bell hasn't shown what he's shown in the OTAs or the camp. We haven't seen any of that translate onto the field yet. He could be one of those players that it takes a little bit for him to get to that point to where he's playing up to speed, for the NFL speed. Another thing, we have a lot of receivers that are really hungry to get that spot. Lewis Murphy, with the injuries that he has, he's going to need a little bit more time to get up to speed as well. So a lot of these wide receivers that we have, which I love our wide receiver core, a lot of them are unknowns to anybody outside of the Tampa Bay area. And I really do believe that we have some quietly kept secrets. Russell Shepard, I think that all the hard work that he's done, I think that he's gonna be one of those guys that actually makes the team as well.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a good point. I'm expecting to see Robert Herron. If this guy could catch consistently, he would be a receiver that you would look at. But you see flashes of brilliance, but again, I don't know what to expect out of him. You talk about receivers in this camp. You have Bell. I know you heard a lot about the kid from UCF, Hall. He was supposed to show up. I haven't really seen much of him. So it will be a good indicator with Mike Evans being out to see if these receivers really step up and earn a job here. It'll be interesting against the Cleveland Browns because the Browns are known for their secondary. They seem like they're building from the back kind of to the front, which is interesting. That's how the Bucs did theirs, and it didn't really work out. But they have a tough secondary.
Yeah, absolutely. And, with that being said, it was a really good win for the Buccaneers. We got to see a lot of players that we expected to see, and they did show up. And we have a lot of players that we didn't expect to see that showed up as well. So moving forward to this game coming up Saturday, what are you looking for?
I'm just looking for another fast start. I don't want this to be lightning in the bottle. I want the Buccaneer offense to come out. I want them to be able to run the ball with Doug Martin. I want them to be able to get into passing rhythm with Jameis Winston, because if that happens, you know what transpires. He gets confidence, and the next thing you know, he's throwing passes consecutively. And the more confidence Jameis Winston builds, the better off you feel about September 13th versus the Titans. But I like the way this offensive coordinator is setting up this offense, because he's running the ball first, and then you're going to pass the ball. And what that basically sets up in simplistic terms is pass, play action pass. You set that play action pass up, and you see what happens. You have those open wide receivers in those zones. And again, a lot of people are going to say, well, the Bengals didn't bring a lot of exotic coverages or whatever else. Look, not every team in the NFL is going to blitz you. There are some teams that are going to play zone defense, and it just seemed like, again, going back to the Bengal game, that Winston was very comfortable. Now, the Browns, they may bring some different coverages. Let's see how it works. And then can the defense capitalize? Can they build off of this effort versus the Cincinnati Bengals against the Cleveland Browns? Because to me, I'm looking at the Cleveland Browns, and I don't see what they're doing there. The wide receivers, to me, seem like they're a little bit old. The quarterback, you know how I feel about him. I don't feel very good about him. And the running backs, they're still kind of trying to look and see who the starting running back is going to be. So this is a great opportunity, once again, for this defense to capitalize on offense that's not very good. Case in point, though, the Cincinnati Bengals are a good offense, and that defense shut them down. The Cleveland Browns, not so much. So let's see what this defense can do when Lovie Smith's calling the plays. It's going to be interesting. I think the one thing I'm really disappointed about, besides the penalty situation, is also the special teams. And in saying that, they bring back Connor Barth this week, which does that mean that the kicker that was here last year, and Murray, is he out of here for Connor Barth?
That's an interesting point. I was going to definitely bring that up. I'm glad to see Barth Vader back in Tampa. He's always been my guy. I didn't know why they let him go, but I guess they had the competition and Murray won out. With these extra points, there's no reason. If you're a kicker and that's your job, there's no reason to miss an extra point. And he wasn't feeling a whole lot of pressure. He shanked that ball. So I would say it would be different. I could look at it differently if he was getting pressure on him and he missed the kick. This is a routine kick that he should have made. Right. So, with that being said, I am glad that Lovie Smith is able to bring Connor Barth in, have that competition. He's shown that he's true to his word. Other than the quarterback position, he has shown that he is bringing players in to compete with other players, so that he can have the best players on the team come day one. So
makes bad for Patrick Murray. He misses an extra point, he misses a 50-yard field goal, and then he hits a 53-yard field goal. So I don't know what you're getting with him. He showed last year that he could kick some long kicks, and it seemed like he was very consistent. But I think this team looks at Connor Barth as an upgrade over him at this point. So let's see how it goes. And then I also want to see, is there a punt returner and is there a kick returner on this team? Is it going to be Kellen Clay, or is it going to be somebody else? Is it going to be Bell? Who's going to step up and be the kick returner and the punt returner for this Buccaneer team?
If I had to, looking at the games that we saw, I would have to say Kalen Clay would be somebody that I would put out there just to see what he can do, because I saw flashes. There were a couple of times that he missed some running lanes that he could have gone through, but he is a rookie. So, at this point, I will give him a pass, because not every rookie is going to come out and be that Devin Hester, So
Yeah.
I think that he just needs consistency. Whoever they get, they just need to stick with him and get him some playing time, and let's see what happens from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bell stuck out the other night by tipping the ball out of the end zone to the other player at the 1-yard line, a great special teams play, which consequently led to, I believe, the Buccaneer turnover, the pick 6. Yeah, well, was it the safety? I think that was later on in the game. But I think this overall, anytime you can make a play in the end zone, I think those coaches are taking note of that special teams play. And if that's true, and if he can return some kicks and make some good decisions, because I didn't like Kellen Clay at the first play against Minnesota, taking out 9 yards in the end zone. Look, I don't care if you have to earn a job. You have to also think smart. When you're putting your offensive team in a hole to start the game or any time in the game, it's not going to be a good thing.
Yeah, and in that Minnesota game, the Buccaneers lost the position battle all the way through the game from the first to the fourth quarter. They were always in a bad position. So, that's you're absolutely right. These returners need to be able to say, you know what, let me put the offense in a good position. Maybe the next time around, if it permits, I can run it back. But at this time, I want to do what's best for the team. And, the coaches look at that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, I agree. So it should be very interesting to see what they do against the Cleveland Browns on Saturday night.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, hey, man, I really appreciate you taking the time out. What we want to do, I wanted to take this last moment here. There are a couple of people I really wanted to thank, true Buccaneers fans that have been through it with us, from day one. Brandon Anderson, who helped me come up with the name Buc What You Heard. I really appreciate that. John Blakely, who has a couple of sites on Facebook that he's created. It's mostly the Buccaneers Invasion. There's over 3,000 fans there, so that's something that he's working hard on. Jamie, his wife's fiance Jamie, who's a big time Buccaneer fan as well, and hopefully I will get to see them if I ever come to Atlanta for a game. Shanisa Bryant, who's also a member of Buccaneer Invasion. Ramona Holland. Just so many people that have been, big time fans. And I really hope this is the year where the Buccaneers are turning it around, where they can see the reward of struggling through Raheem Morris and Greg Schiano, and, finally getting a team together that'll, really do something.
I agree. I definitely agree with that.
Oh, also, I'm looking forward to your show on Saturday. What can we expect on your show on Saturday? Give us a little taste of what we're going to look at.
We're going to definitely be recapping the Bengals versus the Buccaneer game. We're going to get you ready for the Browns versus Bucs game. We're going to talk about what's going on in the NFL with some of these violence, crimes against women, which is disappointing. We'll probably talk mostly about Bucs and football, maybe give you some previews around the NFL.
Folks, if you really get the chance, please tune in to 1340 Tan Talk Radio. Check him out, him and Sean, the Sports Don, his co-host. It's a different flavor of sports talk radio for the Tampa Bay area. And, hopefully you guys get bigger.
Yeah, it's a fan show. We definitely want you to get on the phone lines on Saturday afternoon from 4 to 5. We're also going to have Rick Brown from the former Lakeland Ledger writer who still writes for them. He's going to be talking about the injury situation. So definitely getting you ready and getting you set and recapping and everything like that. 727-441-3000 on Saturday afternoons from 4 to 5. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. The Sports Web with your host, Peter Blake.
Man, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you, and I look forward to doing this again next week, and we'll recap what happened between Cleveland and Tampa. Hopefully we're looking at another W.
Yeah, sounds good, my friend. Sounds very good.
All right, go Bucs.
Go Bucs.